Hello everyone. Welcome once again to the Bible for Everyone. It's great that you can join us for these Bible readings each day. We've reached Matthew chapter 22. And what we're going to see in Matthew 22 is everybody ganging up on Jesus. People who wouldn't normally talk to each other, people who wouldn't normally like each other, people who disagreed with each other all the time, are finding themselves being criticised by Jesus. And so now they begin to come together, to gang up together, to try and say, we need to stop him from saying the things he's saying. We need to stop him from doing the things he's doing, because it's not what we think should be happening. And so we need to, even though we're enemies, even though we disagree about things, we're going to get together because he's a bigger enemy. He's a bigger problem than we've had before. First of all, we get the Pharisees and the Herodians, normally two groups that are so opposed to each other, all to do with the Roman rule and who should be in charge and that sort of thing. They come together to ask Jesus a question, to try and trap him, to try and trick him. And then the Sadducees, the elite, the religious leaders who ran the temple, the rich, the powerful, the influential, they come to challenge Jesus. And then when they fail and they see and things go wrong for them, the Pharisees come back and they begin to question again. And what we discover, whichever group it is, whoever it is, whichever groups are ganging together, when they come to Jesus and they ask him the questions, they criticize him, they condemn him, Jesus every single time answers their questions. And he does it quite often by quoting the Old Testament, showing to them in a way that they would understand the answer to that question, why they're wrong and why he is the fulfillment of those things. Not only does he answer their questions, he also challenges them. He gets them to have to think through what they've always thought and what they've always understood, so that they too can begin to change their minds and see who he is. Included in all that is some amazing teaching that Jesus does, some of the most important verses perhaps in the Bible. Teachings like, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus says, actually there are two. Love God and love your neighbour. And then Jesus begins to question them back. He begins to throw out questions to them, to the religious leaders, to the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Herodians and all those groups of people. He throws them out questions so that they themselves are challenged in their thinking. It's not just a defensive thing from Jesus where he doesn't know what to say and so he fires out a question. He answers their questions first, but then he gives them questions back to say, actually, have you thought about this? And maybe as we listen to the readings from Matthew chapter 22, Jesus might be saying similar things to us. What have you always thought about this? Why do you think like that? Have I been saying something different to you than what you think I've been saying? Let's read through Matthew 22 and let's discover some of those things that Jesus says and does to the different religious groups who are there. Grace and peace, everyone.